Welcome to Innovate for Impact, an informative mini-series brought to you by Tania Gomez Consulting. In this series, we embark on a journey to explore the remarkable innovations that are shaping the landscape of the NDIS for a more inclusive future. Join us as we uncover inspiring stories of visionary individuals, organisations and technologies that are revolutionising the way we approach disabilities.
Welcome back to Innovate for Impact, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Traidy Naidoo from Chosen Family. Welcome, Traidy.
Oh, thank you so much for the invite, Tania. Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to talk to you today and really learn more about Chosen Family and I guess your mission and where you are and where you started. I've read, we've met a number of times and I've read your blurbs on your website about your process of co-designing futures and really supporting people who you say fall between the gaps. So I'm really excited to know where you started and where that came from.
Yes, so Chosen Family, in essence, was birthed out of a desire to bring joy, first of all, back to the NDIS sector. I think we've become so commercialized that we've forgotten that we're in the care sector at this stage. And then, kind of that motto of co-designing individuals' futures with them, because ultimately they're the experts in their own lives. I would say as well, what I saw was that we weren't really up to date when it came to understanding trauma-informed care within our sector. That's something that in the out-of-home care sector, when you're dealing with children and adolescents, that's something we're taught quite strongly, that framework. But when it came to trauma-informed care, when it also came to having an intersectional lens, as opposed to, when you're looking at somebody or looking at an individual and looking at them holistically, that was something that I felt was a little lacking and needed. And so I thought, why not open up Chosen Family and kind of provoke everybody into that type of thought process when they're looking at the systems, the frameworks, and the policies that they are creating.
Amazing. And where did the name Chosen Family come from?
So Chosen Family, that name was actually coined by the LGBTQIA community. I'm part of the community myself. And so the reason why I felt that it would embed our values was because when I was working as a support worker for many years, I realized that a lot of our clients, just like the LGBTQIA community, a large portion, we've been disowned by our family, or we're seen as too difficult, too strange, too abnormal. And so what used to really break my heart was in December when it was Christmas time. Often a lot of our clients would get dropped off by their families at our companies, organizations, and then never seen again, never encouraged. So those significant dates, Christmas, birthdays, I eventually became their chosen family or an extension of family for them. And so I felt this kind of embodies what we want to do and what we want to present with those who have fallen within the gaps. And the LGBTQIA community as well, and there's so many people with a disability and that lived experience, are often a minority, but also often overlooked.
Yeah, you gave me goosebumps actually when you said that. When you talked about Christmas, you gave me goosebumps. That's, it's devastating to think that somebody doesn't have the support of their family. Families, they're so important. The connection and the love that you have is really such an important part of being a human, right? Talk
Yes.
about needs. And so you are the chosen family, and that's where the name came from. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
That's really nice. And tell me about your background through, you said that you worked in the out-of-home care system.
Yes. Okay. So my background, when I was in South Africa, I was actually a very strong spiritual leader, but also kind of worked in the not-for-profit space or doing some community relief and education. And then when I came to Australia, while I was in South Africa, first of all, prior, I was a solicitor there, and then came to Australia to come and re-qualify here. And then kind of just saw, even with advocacy in the legal sense, also just noticed with the not-for-profit space, disability, out-of-home care, youth work, child protection, that there was that gap, for a service that kind of provided a different take on the way that things were. I think, you spoke about innovation earlier and why we're here today having this discussion. I think a lot of people have become quite stagnant in their framework and their thinking when they think of service delivery. So that kind of also just led me and prompted me to go into that direction. So I did a whole bunch of things. Worked as a support worker, did child protection, did out-of-home care and foster care and adoption. I used to work for Barnardo's Australia, which is quite a well-known not-for-profit. I think they're the best or the leading experts right now in foster care and adoption. And that kind of also just led me then into the disability space, which was a blessing because I love being in this space.
What a journey! So you came from spiritual leader to solicitor. That's maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Through the foster care system and then into the disability sector.
It's dealing with humanity, and it's dealing with them at different stages of their lives. And that's, I think, the common thread in the tapestry of what I've seen with my career. It's dealing with humanity and their hearts and what's happening. We're more than just bodies out here. I think we're souls.
Yeah. And it's meeting everyone's individual needs, meeting them where they're at, not expecting them to be different, not expecting them to be something or someone they're not, just meeting them where they are and caring for them, warts and all.
Yes, which has been a tremendous blessing because it ends up challenging me about my own life. And I end up looking internally and I end up seeing, there's a vast part of my heart or, my values or who I am that I haven't probably explored. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. But even in assisting somebody else with their day-to-day life or living, like doing, community access or helping with personal care or taking someone to a doctor's appointment, I think you end up healing yourself as well. And you end up realizing that the human condition is there's a need and a desire to belong ultimately and to be cared for well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that connection again, isn't it? It's connecting and belonging, being part of that group. And I think I when I worked with children as an early childhood teacher in the beginning of my career, that was something that always was so rewarding about working with children is if you're having a bad day, children just loved you completely. You could just walk in there in a really bad mood. It's almost impossible to be in a bad mood because they, will come and give you a hug or just watching the joy in what they're doing, their wonderment. And it's really such a special thing to see the world through the lens of a child. Probably a little bit more challenging when you're seeing it through the lens of someone in foster care or out of home care, but still wondrous. And, I think children are all wanting to belong. And I think moving into adults, that's something that really stays with us.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in co-design. Now, the word co-design gets thrown around a lot. It's one of the buzzwords, I think. I work a little bit in the education space as well, and in the education space, it's the buzzword of the minute is everything is co-designed. What do you mean by co-design, and how do you work with participants to co-design their futures?
Well, I would say it's provoking my team and everyone that currently works for us to not acquiesce to being normal and pigeonholing our clients into the type of service we believe they need to experience. So I think there's a goal when we talk about co-designing, which is ultimately, first of all, it's client-led, meaning they're the ones giving us the data, they're the ones giving us the feedback on how our systems and processes interact with them as individuals who have disability. So you're getting a lot of feedback all the time about maybe ideas that you have. And when you think of it, you go, this would be an amazing thing for someone with a disability. But often when you interact with somebody maybe who has ASD, like autism, or maybe if you interact with someone from the criminal justice space or a psychosocial disability, what you could see as amazing and as beneficial could actually be detrimental and could actually cause a lot of harm for that individual. So when I talk about co-designing somebody's future with them, it's ultimately service provision that's led by them, and we're the ones being educated by them and going at their pace.
Yeah, wonderful. And I love the statement that you said that you're not here to create dependencies on your service. So talk to me about how you're different in that respect.
Okay, so I think currently, even with the NDIS landscape that we're in, one of the things we probably really need to actively do is decenter the white, straight, male, able bodied, English speaking norm that we have in place. One of the things I'm noticing with a lot of our clients is um, they're not being heard when it comes to the service delivery and the way that we're doing it. And one of the things I've seen as well is we're different in the sense that we're targeting individuals who often don't want to be serviced by your usual organization. So let's look at the demographic that we currently service. A lot of the individuals we service are part of the LGBTQIA community and just come from the justice system and have drug and alcohol interventions. So your usual standard blueprint will not work. So the way that we're kind of catering the service towards those individuals is we've actually limited and cut down our services. So we started off, for example, with Chosen Family doing SIL. We don't do that anymore. We've actually just cut that registration away because we realized that we were, trying to provide too much, but we weren't really having an impact. Then we also wanted to provide support coordination. It came from a good intention, but ultimately we realized that that wasn't actually working for our clients. Listening and going back after 3 months, 6 months, those 3-month intervals, asking for feedback from support coordinators lacks and our clients. We just realized that we were providing too much, there was too much noise, and ultimately it wasn't what they required and they needed. And that can be really, really challenging and different or difficult when you're getting that type of feedback from your community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of providers do, especially in the beginning, is that they're just trying to find where they fit. And people go into being an NDIS provider really a little bit naive about the scope of what can be done. And I find most people, oh, well, not maybe most, but a lot of people go in and say, okay, I'm going to offer every service in every area to everyone. And they really aren't clear on who are they serving. And then they get lost in the noise of all the other providers. So, I'm always a fan of what can you be the best in the world at.
Yes.
For me, I use the quality and compliance platform, but I don't know if that's what I'm the best in the world at. But I know that there's definitely a niche there that I can capture right now with my current skill set, and I can do a pretty good job of it. But if I tried to then, I'm constantly asked to business coach people, and I know that I'm just not a business coach, right? And I've got a qualification in business coaching. I've run businesses, but I know my own skills is that I don't want to help people get there themselves. I want to tell them the answer. I want to consult and give advice.
Yes.
I don't want to coach, which is very different. Paul, who I do a podcast with, I refer everyone to him and say he's a great business coach. That's not just me. But I think
Yes.
what you said, you tried on SEL, you tried what that felt like, you tried on support coordination and realized this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel for me. My clients aren't getting what they need from me. And you've managed to go, okay, these are the services that fit and this is our model, and, created a brand and a reputation within that, and expertise, I suppose, in that specific area.
Yep. I think it's a trap. Comparing yourself or getting into that. And that's something that I've seen a lot of other providers also tend to do. Sadly, I'm trying to wake people up and go, what is so unique about your service and what you do, and what do you do so well that you add value in our sector? And then how do I connect you to the very participants or the pipelines and the individuals that you actually need to connect to? Because then we're all clear on expectations. I know that we're going to talk probably about some of the challenges that we face within the NDIS sector. And this is kind of that segue, because when you're trying to do too much, you end up harming, those individuals or those clients. And then you end up also causing a little bit of a backlog, because those clients that need to go into those specific organizations or move towards a specific type of agency or service aren't actually being seen, and those needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
And then, we talk about trauma in our sector, and I'll leave it there. I think everybody can kind of imagine how this all snowballs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot to be learnt about knowing who you are, but also who you're not. And it seems
Yep.
that you do that. You do that really well. And I think you're also, I think the missing ingredient for a lot of people is passion, right? The passion to solve a
Mm.
problem. And you definitely have the passion for both the LGBTI communities, but also, people with disability. And so for you, it's not
Yep.
just a job, it's a mission and it's a calling or a purpose. And so if you can mix what you're passionate about with what you do as your job or your vocation, I think that's where the magic is, right? Because to run a business, any business, is such hard work. If you don't really love what you're doing, there's no way you would be successful. There's no way you can put in enough. Like, money is not enough of a motivator for anyone to put in the work that's actually needed to be successful in a business. You have to be drawn by something much more powerful. Which
Yes,
is,
that's
for you, is it
amazing.
looks like you're living and breathing that.
Well, I always talk to I've spoken at a couple of events recently and told people, it's more than a job for me.
Wow.
When my feet hit the ground in the morning, I believe I have a divine energy and ability that's given to me because this is my calling. And if this is just the job and you're just here for money, you're going to get burnt out very quickly in this sector. You really, really need to eat, live, and breathe this. Um, as most organizations or most directors in NDIS organizations, you take this work home with you. I could be on holiday and I'll be watching someone maybe try to access a specific building or something, and I'm sitting there going, oh, they could have done that better. Or I'll be at an event and I'm not even trying to do it. Like, I'll be with my partner and I'll be at an event and I'm thinking, oh, they just made a statement, an ableist statement. They just asked all of us to stand. Oh my God, there's 4 people in wheelchairs. What are you doing? So if you live and breathe this, it takes it a step further and makes it actually a joy for you to be in the sector, or else you'll start complaining
Yeah.
and you'll take personal offense to some of the feedback that you receive, instead of seeing it as, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to kind of grow and expand my knowledge in a specific area.
Yeah. So I think what you call a calling is, I think it is absolutely that. But for me, I always see it through the lens of, how do I solve a problem? How do I use my skills to solve
Mm.
a problem? And that's how I can be of service. So with Chosen Family, what is the problem that you're solving?
Whew, thank you for the loaded question. I think one of the issues or impediments we're seeing is that there is a lack of creativity and innovation.
Yeah.
That we've become so used to the normal services and service delivery that I'm trying to inspire and provoke and push people and push them in a very loving, kind, gentle way, even though sometimes it probably comes out as very gay and very sassy. Because I'm like, comes with all this attitude and charisma. And I'm like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just really trying to encourage you to do things differently. But also at the same time, I think it's one of the main problems I would say that I'm seeing is with the NDIS. Having competent staff and support workers is a huge issue for us as providers.
Yeah.
I think also the fact that we as providers have to pay for our own education of our staff is really difficult. It would be amazing if the NDIS decided to come up with a framework that was extremely robust. Some of those modules, like the orientation modules and stuff, are amazing because you see people with lived experience giving you, that education and training, which is awesome. But if they could add mental health to it, if they could add drug and alcohol to it, if they could add housing modules and competency, cultural competency. I don't think we know enough about the Indigenous people of Australia. I think also if there was a diversity and inclusion piece, but proper diversity and inclusion and equity, which is the space I love and I love being in, that would be amazing as well. So education, yes, definitely for our support workers. I think also the funding. Currently, we're not seeing many individuals get funded for SIL anymore, which means they fall within this gap where they don't have funding for SIL, they don't qualify for SDA, and then what do we do with them? They have to go and fight the rental crisis and navigate all of that by themselves with a disability. I, as a well-able bodied person, struggle with the rental markers and I struggle to get in. How will someone who's on a DSP, with like very, very limited funds be able to find suitable accommodation for their service? It's just, so the housing crisis is another thing that I can't sleep at night because I'm constantly thinking of. And then let's talk about aged care and what's happening there. And eventually there are talks now of trying to put aged care under that umbrella. There's new talks as well of removing psychosocial disability from the NDIS. I saw an article where Bill Shorten was very strong on that and saying he was going to return that back to the Ministry of Health, who are inundated right now as well. So problems? Ooh, girl, not that much. Nothing we can't fix.
Yeah. It seems like the NDIS is a great scheme, but it seems like there are just, maybe it's the maturity of the scheme, maybe it's because it's new, maybe it's because it's run by government, I'm not sure. But it seems like there are just pockets of problems. And I don't believe that government's going to be able to solve all these problems. I think it does come down to people like you and I who are willing to make change and inspire change and push people, as you said. How do you think we even begin trying to tackle some of those issues on behalf of the participants that we're serving?
I think we go back to the foundational principles of our ancestors, and it's called community. I think the interagencies that they used to have when it was ADAC was amazing. You had a lot of smaller providers interacting with one another, leaning on each other's wisdom and strength. I think we've forgotten the collective and we've all become very individualistic and corporate and commercialized, as I mentioned. So, in South Africa, where I'm from, the ancestors, we have a guiding principle in South Africa called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu means I am because you are. I exist because you exist. I thrive because you thrive. And so basically, if I water you, I actually water myself. If I bless you, I bless myself. And I think we've forgotten that. I don't really see much of that in Australia. What's attributed to our success in Western Sydney is actually the fact that we have really, really good relationships with a whole bunch of other providers that do what we don't do exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So I never have to do it myself. My team never feels the pressure, that I've seen a lot of other organizations succumb to, because we're connected. We've got a whole bunch of other people who are industry leaders in that field. So I can just kind of rely on them or call them for assistance. But if you think of it, also what I'm tackling is tall poppy syndrome. I don't celebrate somebody else's success. I don't bless them. I don't open up a door for them. I don't hold the door open for someone new because I have this fear that they are my competition. If you are truly authentic to who you are and you know your strengths and your power, baby, you'll never be my competition. I don't feel that weird, awkward feeling of, here's another provider doing the same service, and now I have a tight chest and I feel like I need to hoard all my power or influence, because they're not me. They'll never be me, And so I don't have that attitude, that prevailing attitude I've seen in sector, which is so sad. So I think it's also teaching all our other service providers, hey, there's room for us all. And if you're not copying, what another service is doing, because I think actually that's what it is. We've called a whole bunch of people on their bluff. We've caught them. They don't really know. They've just watched Afford, Achieve, Northcott, all these big players do what they've done, and they've replicated that and thought, this is what we're going to do to become successful, instead of innovating and creating from themselves, which is so sad.
Yeah.
So, quote me on it. Come for me. I know they're going to come for me on social media. Come for me. I welcome it, baby, because I'll win.
Yeah. I read something this morning that said that competition's at the bottom, collaboration's at the top. And I think that that's really, it is all about collaborating because we have different skills. And even if we're in the same geographical area, delivering the same services, again, we come back to who are you authentically serving and what is your mission? What are you driven to achieve? And it isn't just let's work with every single person, because you're not the right person for every single participant. You don't have the right offering. And so it comes down to being really clear on what you do and what you don't do. And and I think that there's, I think that's quite easy. Well, not easy, but I think it's quite clear for someone like you that has a community that you want to serve. And people who don't have that are just in it to decide to try and run a business for the first time and don't have that mission. I think they're the ones that get lost and that they don't succeed, and they do, feel like they are in competition because they don't have something unique to offer. They don't have that US. Maybe that's where the fear comes from, imposter syndrome, because they're not as well versed in the space or as experienced in the space, and they're not really sure what they're doing in the space. Why are they there?
Yes, I mean that's so potent. You're so accurate in saying that. I think you called it out. It's fear, more than competition. We're seeing fear-based tactics or fear-based or fear-led actions, leading individuals to act out of their norm and who they are. But I think also just because, I know, speaking as a person of color. I've been in so many talks with providers, who are from different parts of Africa or India or just from different, nationalities. If they're not Caucasian, there is this fear. We have this conversation often that they're not going to be accepted here in Australia for what they do and what they provide. But it's also like they often tell me, you're very, very brave for doing what you're doing, because everything that would not give you referrals, everything that would not put you in front of support coordinators, you're actually doing. And I'm like, yes, because then it means that that's not my tribe. And it also means that, I'm not going to throw my pearls before individuals who aren't going to appreciate it, because I'm going to constantly have to work, and they'll have very unrealistic expectations for the service that I'm delivering and of my team. And I can't do that. I can't bow down to the big corporate for money. Because if I do it in that sense, I'll begin to act very strangely, and it won't be true to our mission, our values, and what I want to do. So it's interesting. I talked to a lot of them about this. I know that some of them are probably going to message me and be like, why would you mention that? But I think it's important for a lot of people to realize that there are other unconscious bias that a lot of us as non-English speaking individuals, maybe even those who have come from different parts of the world except Australia, have to those impediments we have to face and get through in order to get to the actual individuals or support coordinators, to reach the actual clients that we want to reach. So one of my first interactions with the support coordinator, when I emailed them, they saw a photo of me, because I have a very, very handsome photo of myself in my email signature. Thank you for agreeing, Tania. That's why I love you. So when I sent an email, I was very, very disheartened, because the support coordinator called me back and just said, I'm so sorry. I just want to check that this is not like a scam. like that you're not one of those African scammers that I've heard of. Which was probably one of the most heart-crushing moments. But that was like my first support coordinator I'd emailed, and she thought I was a Nigerian scammer.
Oh my gosh.
So stuff like that, like yeah, and yeah, I won't mention any other stories.
Yeah, it's amazing that that still occurs though. Like especially Western Sydney, that is such a diverse place, right? it is incredibly diverse. I lived in Western Sydney for almost 10 years, and I worked at a college, a private college, teaching the diploma in Cert Threes in childcare. And my class, there probably wasn't two people from the same background in my class. It was incredibly diverse, and it is just unbelievable that you could still be treated with, I guess it is racism, isn't it, in today's
Yeah.
world, in a place that is so proud to be diverse.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'll leave that there and
Yeah.
smile and wave.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that that's your experience. I think that that is, and that support coordinator has, did she end up working with you, or did you decide that she wasn't your tribe?
Well, she's one of our biggest referrers now. And that was a great blessing. Obviously, we were talking about that, and I tried to investigate it as nicely as I can. And if you know me, I'm one of those people that don't shy away from like healthy confrontation and talking about the elephant in the room. So it was wonderful, and then meeting her as well. I think the success there is that now she's much more aware of that type of bias. I don't
Yeah,
think she did it intentionally. She didn't understand why that was bad. She
yeah,
didn't understand why that was harmful. She was legit wondering, like, is her safety and her client's information, going to be going to someone in another country, which is very. When I say it, I know a lot of my fellow people of color are probably like, but I think we actually need to give each other the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of times it's not intentional.
yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, I have a lot of my clients who are from, various different places. Most of them, I'm first generation Australian. Most of them are first generation Australian, born here, but people of color or, diverse in some way. And they do pay me to come and sit in their audit just to have a white person in the audit. Like that is a thing that I get asked.
Brilliant.
And it will be like, and my name now is Gomez, which I get questions about in my Spanish and my this and my that. But before, my last name was Menzies, and people would say, we just need a white name on the application. Can I pay you to be, not in the NDIS
Yep,
space, in the application space, can we just pay you to be the name on the application so that we don't get discriminated? And it's,
yep.
I have four children, and two of my children have dark skin and two of them don't, both same parents, but two of them are just darker than the other two. And it's amazing how my oldest son, who's white like me, and my second son, who's brown like his dad, it's amazing how they do get treated different. And they'll be sitting next to each other, and people will treat my darker skinned child differently. And it's like, this is it just absolutely drives me insane. I think we've kind of got off on a tangent, but it's unbelievable to me that these things still exist, and that, yeah, I can't. And then you talk about disability, and then you have, I
Yep.
think you've got a whole nother ableism, as you said, a whole nother issue to try and tackle.
Yes.
Do you feel
Yep.
like chosen family is tackling this problem, that you're loud and proud about who you are and what you do to try and disrupt this normal agenda of, I think you called it, I don't know, Caucasian, I don't know what the term
Yeah.
for it is.
Oh, well, let's just call it the patriarchy, darling. I think yes, we're definitely facing it head on. And that can be from the so-called love letters that I often receive on a weekly basis, or the love emails, as to why I need to end up in hell, or
Oh,
who's going to come and violate me and kill me, and all sorts of interesting things. I love that type of feedback because I know that, okay, that's a sore point. That's where that person is. It's good data for me. Um, I do think as well, it challenges us. We are not the experts. Like, I would love to be called an expert, but often I've created certain programs or matched clients with support workers or, done things like that that I thought would be so beneficial, and it ended up being extremely harmful. But it was then sitting back and going, oh my gosh, this did not work. One size does not fit all. Let's go back. Let's actually bring them in and maybe also their support network in, and then let's collaborate and create a pathway for them that's going to be much more beneficial, like co-designing, right? So yes, we're definitely hitting those things on the head, the nail. I can see it, especially with the LGBTQIA community and those in the D&I space. But I think we still have so much more to do. Yeah, and I'm constantly being challenged myself. Ooh.
Yeah.
So talk to me. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's a really important piece of work for people to be challenging stereotypes in general, and to, showing how well people, humans, how all humans are diverse and different, and that we should be embracing our differences, because our differences is what make us, unique, and gives us makes up who we are, and we can't change who we are. We are born this way, and or environment
Yes.
makes us this way. Either way, it's a really powerful thing to be out there advocating for your tribe, and I think it is a brave thing to do.
Well, it's a blessing. Thank you. For me, it's a privilege because I'm constantly learning. Even those that disagree with us, or if there is pushback, I feel like that's the sandpaper that ends up creating this beautiful piece of art, which is my soul. Sometimes I don't welcome that type of life lesson because it's painful, but it
Yeah.
forges us to become a bit more flexible. It forges us to become more inclusive. It forges us to become more graceful and patient and loving, not only with our community that we serve, but also our family and our friends and our network, our broader network. Like people with disability or those who have trauma have taught me a lot about how I need to treat others and then treat myself. So if anything, I'm the one that's blessed here because they're teaching me principles that I think a lot of our ancestors knew, that we've forgotten in our wonderful glamorized, fake perfect Barbie world. By the way, go watch the movie Barbie. I think it's amazing. I think it tackles so many social issues that we definitely need to look into once again.
Yeah. You've mentioned a few times about creativity and innovation. What other kinds of creativity or innovation do you think is needed in the NDIS landscape? What would
Wow.
you like to see
I
change?
think when it comes to like what I would change, we've spoken so much. I think once again, online safety is something we don't talk a lot about. That type of education, even when it comes to relationships and dating, even that, just healthy relationships, sex. Let's talk to our individuals, those who have a disability. Let's talk to them about that. Let's educate them on that. We're not really seeing much of that currently take place. I do have a friend. Her name is Cheryl Drury. You definitely need to interview her. She's started her own dating app for people with disability called Dateability, and then she runs these mixes where they have therapists, involved. I think that's like life changing. That to me was just amazing. But to see more of that, we're not really seeing that. Hey, but even just online safety in general, it's just kind of non-existent.
Yeah.
It would be nice if the NDIS also funded sex workers. That would be great. Quote me on that too.
What
I
they
think not in all areas, not in all states. I think all our states have different laws. I think that actually uniformity amongst all our states, that would be great. And then lastly, I would say the rise of the independent contractor. Oh
Right.
my God. oh my God, red flags. Why has quality and safeguarding not come up with an auditing framework for them? Because I have seen independent support workers do some of the most unethical, ungodly things I've ever seen, and they've gotten away with it. And then smaller providers like us, we often get targeted because we're not registered yet. For example, we've applied to be registered with the NDIS. Yay! It would be nice if that process also wasn't as painful and didn't take a year minimum to get registered. It would be lovely. So maybe if we put some more funds towards all of those things, it would be awesome. But the independent contractor, that scares me. Oh, it scares me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it can be the wild, wild west out there, I think sometimes. And I have a lot of clients in Western Sydney, and it seems to be a common, almost every week one of my clients call me and talk about also the underhandedness of things, of scams, I guess you would call them. And I don't know if this is Australia wide. I've been drawn to the attention in Western Sydney specifically around, oh well, I'll go with you for using my plan if you buy me a TV. Or I'll half my funds with you, and you don't deliver any services, and, those kind of conversations. And it kind of, reminds me of many previous government rorts that I was aware of. Yeah. And I mean, how do you operate in an environment like that, right? It's impossible.
Yeah. I know of a lot of providers that they're thriving because they're unethical.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Whether it's offering the iPads or the TVs or the lounge suites or whatever, or offering support coordinators, Louis Vuitton or Gucci bags. It's some of the most rife. I know, right? Louis Vuitton. Darling, I'm in the wrong industry. Should have gone into support coordination full time. Absolutely wild. And you see them, and often for us as ethical orgs that are smaller, it hurts your heart. It stings because you're sitting there going, I'm doing everything the way I'm meant to do it. I'm above reproach. And then this other person I know, that's not ethical, not even giving to proper care standards or abiding by that, is excelling. But I do think the NDIA, or the Safeguards and Safeguards Commission, that part of the NDIS, the complaints, that the investigation section may be slow, but eventually they'll get there.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
whatever you do in the dark, it will be exposed. It will happen. So I think, like me, a whole bunch of smaller providers are sitting going, come on now, any day now, get them.
Yeah.
Get in there and see what's going on.
But it does happen. When I worked in education, there was in 2013 or thereabouts, there was a big, they call it the vet fee help frauds and scams that were going on. And, it was just this week, what's that, 10 years later, it was just this week that one of the people that I sat and watched do the most unethical things over and over again, 10 years ago, I was sitting there going, how can they be allowed to do this? I can't believe it. It's taken 10 years, but they are paying the price now. It just, the government moves slow and they need to get the right evidence, but it does happen. And, when it happened, I had a million messages from all of the people from 10 years ago that we used to all have these conversations. How are they getting away with it? We can't compete in a marketplace where people are doing the wrong thing. It just takes the government time, but when they do it well. So we just need to be patient and know that, their day will come. There will be a reckoning.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Yeah, me too. So tell me, where do you see your organization in the future? What are your goals? Where to from here?
We're going to continue to do what we do very, very well, which is provide amazing, fabulous core support services to individuals who have a disability, and then also to those niche provisions like those who have drug and alcohol, the justice system, especially seeing individuals with autism Yeah, like even the psychosocial space, that's something that we're very passionate about. Um, but I would say where I see chosen family mainly is actually becoming an oasis of refreshment and joy and innovation for others to also become inspired and then to go out and do theirs as well and create their own platform, of equity and belonging and whatever makes them unique. I really want to be encouraging and enticing others to do the same instead of them come and copy us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my desire is that we'll see all those agencies that do those niche specialities eventually form some sort of a network. It's worked for us in Western Sydney. It's worked for us in Queensland now. I think it will work for us if we go national as well. And that's the dream. Everybody thrives all together at the same time, doing what we do, doing what we're passionate about, instead of try to copy somebody else and try to flog a dead horse. Sorry for that visual, but yeah. Trigger warning.
Amazing. I think I'm really excited to see where you go from here and to watch your journey. I think that you're going to be doing some really amazing and important work for your participants. Um, how can people follow your story and get to know more about you?
Well, we've got our website, chosen.family, and if you type into Google chosen family disability, we'll come up as the first. And then also, we're on every other social media platform. My personal mobile number is actually on our website, so everybody has access to my number, including my clients. So they can reach out to us in a multitude of ways, every platform: email, phone call, text, WhatsApp. I've actually had a client WhatsApp me recently, which was interesting. It was awesome seeing that that's the way they wanted to, because they wanted to voice note me. So cool. It beat the referral form process. Once again, something we thought was amazing and robust. Clients basically said, that's not how I want to communicate with you. So, yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn as well. I think my name is all there. Don't spell my name like a tradie, though, because I'm not one of those. I used to be. But yeah, if they look out for me, you'll find me and see me. I'm the black guy with colorful clothes and items.
Yeah,
And I'm very shy and very humble, and I never speak. I don't draw any attention to myself, clearly.
no, I think your fashion sense is what you're known for, isn't it? You kind of have
It
a
is.
persona around your bright colored clothes.
Yes, today I'm wearing, so actually from Champion themselves, they released a Pride like line of clothing. So I'm wearing the LGBTQ, especially the trans flag today. So yeah, thank you. My clothes. Yeah, you don't want to see the bull for the clothes though.
You're definitely well known for your beautiful taste in clothes. Um, I think we've kind of answered all of the questions that I had for you today, but it was so great to getting to chat to you and to get to learn more about your journey in this space. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Well, I wanted to say that I pray that when people watch this or listen to it, that they're encouraged to think outside of the box, and that they can find solutions or practical solutions for individuals with a disability. And if there's something that they have, an idea, that they don't need to wait for a big corporate to fund it. Chosen Family was started or commenced often with, we didn't have funding at that stage, actually. We used our personal equity and money to fund this vision. And a year and 3 or 4 months later, it's becoming so big and it's taken shape and form. So that's my prayer. I hope that people are encouraged and that they're excited about the disability sector and they're not overwhelmed by what they're currently seeing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been so wonderful, and I hope we get to do this again soon.
Yes, please. Let's do food, coffee, wine.
Yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
it would be wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Tania.
See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
On the next episode of Innovate for Impact. So what we can be very agile. So even though we've got teams around clients, and that's their personal team, that doesn't mean to say that our support workers don't be on multiple teams. There is flexibility. Well, the conversation we have with clients, and we have had instances where we might get a call from a client or from a hospital saying, hey, we've got somebody discharging, do you have capacity to provide supports? Next week. Which is always an interesting prospect. But in saying that, we've got an awesome an awesome team of support workers and support specialists who oversee the support workers who will mobilise very, very quickly.
Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode of Innovate for Impact. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking conversations and innovative ideas that drive positive change within the NDIS space. Remember, together we're shaping a future where innovation and impact go hand in hand.